Oh hey, it's Emily, and today I wanted to reflect on my bookish goals for 2020 and also in the same video reflect on my goals from last year. It's basically very similar sets of goals or the same set of goals, and so I wanted to reflect as I was talking about what I want to accomplish next year or what my goals are for next year. Wanted to wrap up how I did on those goals this past year. And so I want to start by saying I don't set a number goal for myself personally. I just, it doesn't help me to set a goal. I don't particularly care about the specific number of books I read in a year. It's just not a goal I set. So that's not going to be part of this. But one goal I did have was to bring my physical TBR down. I didn't actually quantify this. I haven't looked at how many or totaled up how many I've read this year and how many of those were off of my owned physical TBR, but I feel like I've done a pretty decent job getting that down this year, and I would like to continue to do that next year. So this is kind of just a gut feeling of how I've done with no data or basis for feeling that way. But I do feel like I really focused on getting my physical TBR down, and I definitely want to continue to do that next year. I feel like it's not completely under control, but I do feel relatively good about where I'm at, although there's still quite a ways to go to get my physical TBR down. So that will definitely be a continued goal for next year. Another goal was to think about what readathons I want to participate in, and this I didn't do too well on this past year. And I do want to again, continue to make an effort to do this next year, because I feel like the community around different readathons can be super fun and engaging. And just being mindful, I mean, I'm not going to have the capacity to do a ton of different ones next year, I think, but at least just being more conscious about which ones I want to participate in, how I can incorporate my physical TBR into those readathons and kind of help build that community and engage in that community for the readathon would be really cool. I am hoping to participate, or at least vlog for and see what I can do to participate in the Merry and Bright readathon in December. So hopefully I will be able to do a vlog about that later on in the month. So I haven't completely ignored that this year, I guess, and there's so many that sound so exciting, but then I just remember my primary goal of getting my physical TBR down, and sometimes it's hard to match a physical TBR, especially as it's getting smaller, and I just want to get that down to a very small number. It's sometimes hard to match that physical TBR with prompts for a readathon, and if my primary goal above everything else is to get my physical TBR down, sometimes readathons just kind of take a bit of a back burner as far as a goal. But I do really hope to focus on that a bit more next year. So another goal that I have that goes along with that goes along in that vein is to just engage more in the community, especially reaching out to smaller booktubers and finding smaller booktubers to connect with. I just get so distracted by all of the amazing booktubers that I love watching, and just have so many that I love following along with that just like, it's sometimes hard to try to go out and find new booktubers when there's just constantly new amazing videos from booktubers that I love watching already. But I do need to make an effort to do that, and so I've definitely started to recently. I also, this year was kind of insane, to moving back to the DC area, moving again to a different apartment recently. It's just been, and work getting crazy at different times. It's just been a little crazy, and so sometimes it's just hard to prioritize that. But that is something I again really want to focus on, even if that includes narrowing down the larger booktubers that I decide to really follow, and instead dedicate some of that time to finding smaller booktubers and making sure that I'm engaging with their content and making new friends. So didn't do too well on that this year. It's another goal for next year. Another goal is the Reading Around the World project. which I thought would go well this year, and it just hasn't. Which again, you know, it's been with a lot of these goals this year. It just took a back seat to a bunch of other reading priorities, mostly getting my physical TBR down. And so Kim and I are definitely hoping to redouble our efforts and prioritize this next year. We do have books picked out for Cambodia. I've spoken about this before, but this is a project that we both still really want to do, and so that is going to be a continuing project for next year. And I think she and I are both looking for ways to incorporate the Cambodia books or around the world books and that project into our TBRs in a more consistent and official way to kind of help us with that. I mean, there's so many exciting things to participate in the book community, and we have our own physical TBRs that we want to get down. And so, you know, it's just hard to juggle all of the exciting things that you would love to do and participate in, and all of the books you would love to read. So it totally makes sense. But this is, again, something that we both really would love to do, and so we're hoping to redouble that next year. And I've got a way that will tie into another goal. I've got a way that hopefully I can help bring that into my TBRs during the month. So fingers crossed this goes better next year. Another goal was to post on my social channels more consistently, which I have been very haphazard on, and especially Bookstagram. I think I like Instagram a lot more than Twitter, and so you know, maybe I should just decide to cut my losses and just focus on one channel and one kind of social media platform, and just focus on that, and just kind of acknowledge where I want to prioritize my time and just be okay with that. I'll need to think about that. Because it just got very haphazard when I was posting, and I definitely want to get better about that, because I love Instagram. I really love Instagram, and I love looking through all of the beautiful pictures. I love talking to people on Instagram, and I love taking pictures for Instagram. So it's definitely something that I enjoy doing and would love to prioritize more consistently next year. And I think if I just decide to focus on one platform, that might help, and that way I don't feel pressure to post things on a bunch of platforms. But we'll see. We'll see how that goes. But I definitely especially would love to focus on Instagram, perhaps. But we'll see. We'll see. We'll see what happens with this, but that continues to be a goal. I think the theme of this entire video is I didn't do these goals well last year, but I still want to do them, so they are still goals next year. That's the name of the game. The final goal is to play some TBR games / have fun with some challenges and theme videos, and I think this is the one that I did the best on. I did do multiple TBRs where I was picking different fairy loot cards, having some fun challenges and themed reading vlogs, and I definitely want to continue doing that. I had so much fun doing that, and so that is something I would love to incorporate into a new TBR game that I hope to be creating. I mentioned this in my first video of this month, my TBR, where I was introducing a few of the videos I'd like to do for Bookmas. But I am hoping to create a TBR game and introduce that this month. And so that's another thing that I think hopefully will go well next year if I am able to create this month. And to go back to one of the other goals, and that is getting my getting the books in for Reading Around the World, the Reading Around the World project. One of the things that I want to do is incorporate that in a very specific way into that TBR game, which is one way I hope will actually kind of help making sure that I can prioritize that. So I hope that gives you some sense of what I'm hoping to do next year. Essentially to just continue building community, having fun with my TBRs and with different themed videos and with social platforms, and just engaging in the community and keeping it fun. So I don't put too much pressure on myself, and these goals are not very specific or based on specific metrics, which I know is not the best way to set goals, to have them vague. I generally like having very specific goals that have ways that I can actually track how I'm doing on them and track progress, make steps so that I can accomplish those specific goals. But these aren't ones that I put too much pressure on myself for. I just want to read and have a good time. And so what I'm able to do, I'm able to do, and what I'm not able to do, that's okay with me too. And so that's why these are a bit more lax in terms of my usual goal setting, and why I'm okay making a video that basically is, I didn't do some of the things I wanted to do last year, and that's okay, and I hope to do them next year, and we'll see what happens, you know? So I don't feel much pressure to be at a certain place at the end of next year, or have done a specific number of videos, or read a specific number of books, or, you know, have a specific number of subscribers or anything. Just, I'll have fun and we'll see what happens. So thank you so much for watching. Let me know what some of your bookish goals are for next year. I would love to know. I love talking goals and planning, and be sure to subscribe for more bookish content and to see if I accomplish these goals next year, as well as for the videos that I'm excited to make throughout December and early January. And I will also leave my Twitter and Instagram link down below. That's where I'd like to hang out. I will also leave more information about how you can support the Black Lives Matter movement, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.